Thank you for joining me for yet another unboxing video. And today we have a Kickstarter from Black Site Studio. This time it's Breacher, an action-packed missions in the near future, a tabletop miniatures game by Matt Burns. I was a backer for this Kickstarter, and I was what they call a tier 1 backer. And with a tier 1 backer, basically I didn't feel like I needed all of the terrain. I didn't feel like I needed the figures because I have plenty of terrain and I have plenty of figures. So the reality was I only need the key elements which make the game work. So with this tier 1 pledge, I received a couple different things. The token set, the cards, is the contact and civilian deck, the core rulebook, and this is, if you want to create your own characters, is your character sheets. So we're going to start off by looking at Breacher, the core rulebook first, and then we'll unbox everything else that we have here. Okay. I just move this to the side, and we'll start off with Breacher, the core rulebook. Again, this game was brought to you by Black Site Studios, and it was basically a Kickstarter, and it just came in this week. So let's crack this bad boy open and see what kind of goodness is inside. It says, prepare to dive into the world of Breacher. As members of the Breacher program, TBP, you are a mercenary for hire, sent to fight the outnumbering forces of the opposition force, OPFOR. When countries or mega corporations cannot be seen in direct conflict, they will pay handsomely for the expertise of a breacher. During a game of Breacher, one player will take a single breacher into the AO to fight a much larger OPFOR using a unique activation system that ensures non-stop shootouts reminiscent of some of the greatest action movies around. Players have the opportunity to select gear and gain new skills as they earn cryptocurrency in campaign play. The player controlling the OPFOR will also be able to earn cryptocurrency for their own breachers using the consulting rules. Players will find optional rules allow for more than one breacher to participate in the action, playing against game-controlled OPFOR, futuristic laser weapons, and more. Again, this was brought to you by Black Site Studios. More information about Breacher, go to blacksitestudio.com. And this was released in 2024. So let's open this up, and right off the bat you see a picture of the world. And so you have your different organizations. You have the Wolf Pack, you have the Core, you have the Tungsten, you have Mediation Inc., you have the Triads, and the Sire, or Sari. Matt Burns. Thank you pages, and all the sections that are covered in the book. Money or Glory, again, what Breachers are all about. Wolfpack Tungsten, the two different factions that you're going against. The Triads, the Sari, a little background information about them as well. The Mediation Inc. and the Core. Section 1 is the game overview. You've got where do you start, how many people can play Breacher, what kind of game do I want to play, what kind of Breacher do you want to be, why would you want to play as the OPFOR. You got a sample entry right there. You got components, miniatures and terrain, important game turns, and concepts that you need to know. So you need to know rule of carnage, what you see is what you get, a WYSIWYG, measuring, line of sight, LOS, AO, breaching, flanking, breacher player, different players, out of action, range band, subcontract, scatter roll, and random movement, contact deck, turn, rounding maneuvers, consulting, and grit. Section 2 is all about the core mechanics, making skill tests. So you have a critical success, a critical failure, or other kinds of skills. Moving units, you can climb ladders, rope and stairs. You could dive through windows. Line of sight, determining that. Moving on, section 3, setting up the game with your different terrain. You have to accept the operation to be subcontractor, setting up and equipping the breacher, choosing a breacher specialty, equipping them. Talk about his combat effectiveness, primary support, and secondary weapons that he's going to carry with him. There's going to be a great example play, fantastic art throughout, whether it's regular art or miniatures that have been painted. This is traditionally a 25 to 28 millimeter game. So again, A lot of the maps that I've unboxed and terrain pieces that I've unboxed already would be perfect for this game right here. But again, if you don't have terrain, you could always put cards out, use and put different layers for different levels of buildings. Just put a carpet out, not a carpet, but a blanket out. Use some books, put some things in there, and you'll do just fine. You don't have to go out and buy all the things. And again, if you don't have miniatures, you can use standees. If you don't have standees, you can use pawns from a regular board game. So it's up to your imagination how you want to handle it. So setting up and equipping your player, creating the contact, setting up for an operation. Again, how you set up your game table like this. Examples of play. Designer notes are in the orange boxes, so they give you helpful hints as to making sure you're following the rules and doing the right thing. To give you lots of examples of play in here, different steps. Section 4 is the turn sequence. So every turn has you determine initiative, activate units, ending the turn, beginning the next turn with step 1 in the turn sequence. You got initiative, moving, maneuver of the enemies, coordinated units, reinforcements, equipment, concealment, breacher activation, line of sight, aim, overwatch, semi-automatic, precise shot, ending the turn. Section 5, making ranged attacks. Choosing the target, range bands, rolling to hit, critical success, rolling a 1, critical failure, rolling a 20. So it's a D20 based game. So you need a couple of D20s, which I have a bazillion of them hanging around here from different RPG games that I have. Rules for ranged combat. Now, it's important to know what type of target you're going after. So you get bonuses for things, people being out in the open, it's easier to hit, but when they're partially obstructed, you get some minuses for that. If they're heavily obstructed, again, some more minuses for that. So it's -4 for this. It's -2 for that. Out in the open, there are no minuses. Fully obscured, well, no line of sight, you can't hit them, basically. That's the idea. Shooting at people who are running, you get a -2 penalty for that. Engaged unit, shooting while engaged. Aiming, bracing, using special kinds of ammo. Different types of cover that you can run into. Again, more beautifully painted and photographed miniatures on the table. Very beautiful. Another miniature right there that's painted up. Great job. Ammo, low ammo, how to reload, using grenades, how to throw it. Section 6 is making melee or hand-to-hand combat. If you're engaged, you're rolling to hit. Critical hit is a 1. Critical failure is rolling a 20. Melee modifier, special rules for melee, concealment, flanking, attacking unit with a run token. Damage and armor. Again, the more armor you have on, the harder it's going to be to hit you. Applying damage, there you go. Pre-made operations, so these are different. Again, look at the beautiful terrain that they use for the game. Elements of an operation. Setting up the board. Breacher deployment. OPFOR, where they're going to be located. Objective rules and placement. Obligations, what is your objective. And operation special rules. All of them will be set up the exactly same way. So you got hostage rescue. Secure site. Effixal drone data, steal the data. Section 9, creating operations. Creating your own operations. Operation type and OP block. Again, lots of charts to help you set up your own game rather than using pre-generated operations that they already provide for you. Generating area, type of AO, the number of terrain features per board, per quadrant. Muster OPFOR and determine OPFOR presence. Determining conflict footing. Deploying forces. The snafu. You are walking down the street, you roll a d6, you stumble into each other but accidentally. You backtrack and run into each other, wait for patrol to move, and there's an alarm that's set off. Campaign play, of course. What is campaign play? Creating the breacher or breachers, equipment between games, creating operations and campaign, playing as an OPFOR, cashing out. could be, you have a roll of D10, you could get a subcontract. What kind of contract did you get? Additional intel, comms beacon, most wanted, contact informants, inspect, track shipments, safe house, destroy evidence, minimal contact. Talk about grit, talk about specialty maneuvers, all kinds of extra maneuvers that people can take, the different types, again, the different agencies that you'll be fighting against, the wolf pack, the tungsten, the triad, the core, the mediation inc, and the SARI. What happens when you get a serious injury? Here you go, you're rolling D20 from top, which is 1 to 5 is a scrape and a bruise, down to 20, you're killed in action. Section 11 is unit reference, momentum and movement, maneuvers, combat stims, double tap, up-to-date intel, adrenaline, stacked mags, clean shot, diving. You could throw a grenade, you could reload, you could take care of a wound, you can patrol, you could do support, different kinds of traps that you could run into. You could hit a tripwire, you could have a mine, you could have an alarm, you can have a guard dog who's sitting there waiting for you to pop in. Okay, different specialties that you could have. You could be covert, you could be an assault, you could be a marksman, you could be a hand-to-hand expert, heavy assault expert, or you could be a street thug, be a militia, trained, hired gun, different types of movement maneuvers you can do, recover, interact, aim, tactical weapon swap, retreat, go prone, stand up, walk, run, jump, barricade movement, tactical movement, aim, hold overwatch, interact, jump, semi-auto and ranged attacks, burst fire, full auto fire, rapid strikes, heavy blow. The maneuvers that the breacher can do. Lots of things, lots of going ons here. You then, of course, creating your own character. You have to have stats. So your main stats that your characters have are right here. So I'll pull that up right here so you can take a look at that. You've got movement. You got ranged combat, melee combat, technical, command, wounds, and grit. So you get 20 wounds. Your grit is 0. You get 4 loadouts that you bring with you, 2 slots for grenades, tactical equipment, and armor. And you have special rules for your breacher. And again, different characters that you have here and different weapons that they'll be carrying with them. Continue to move over. More characters, pre-made characters for you to take a look at. More breachers for you to look at. Hired gun, Cyclone, Turbo, Anita. You got street thugs. Again, all pre-rolled up and all ready for you to go. So it seems to me you want to roll low versus rolling high in this game. So if you've got a range combat of 11, you have to roll under an 11 to make a hit. Melee combat is 10, you got to roll under the 10, because if you got higher, you get to 20. It's a critical miss. So I'll say it's got to be under 10 that you have to roll. Technical's under 10, wound 7, armor and 2. Militia 4. Again, pre-made characters. That again, some more beautiful, glorious miniatures that have been painted with some really, truly awe-inspiring terrain as well. Again, section 12, weapons and tactical equipment. The type of equipment that you can have: damage type, trauma, shaken, duration, cloud, devastating, armor-piercing, blasting, and all your different kinds of weapons that you can purchase for your character or that you can find on the battlefield when going through things, from grenades to standard weapons to support weapons, tactical gear that you can add to your character. Optional rules. Now again, if we look on this real quick, you can see the type of combat you're going to be playing. Wide open tactical. Okay. Beautiful figures, beautiful terrain. Moving on. Optional rules: Operation Stealth, more reinforcements, task force play, or conflict play. Continue to move on. Different kinds of special rules for different weapons. So you got here a laser sniper rifle, laser assault rifles, laser SMG, laser pistol, nanobots, reactive armor plates, phase plates, overcharged batteries, different things that can happen. Section 14 are solo rules. So if you don't have a person to play with, you can always do solo campaign, which is going to be different, a little bit different from what we use in the generic game that you're playing. You're going to have cards that you're going to pull out of the deck because they won't be relevant in a solo game. Militia and street thug orders, trained unit orders. You got trained unit orders, hired gun orders, more sections. Cards and quick reference. Here you go. Your turn order again is determine initiative, activate turns, end turn, begin the next turn with step 1 in the turn sequence. You got ranged combat modifiers, you got melee combat modifiers, different types of cover that you're going to have. Again, the momentum maneuvers, weapon rules, specialty maneuvers that you can pull off, up for combat maneuvers, breacher combat maneuvers, ammo out, low ammo tokens, and here are some pictures of the different tokens. Now again, I bought the token pack, so I won't need to make copies of this and put on pieces of, some bases. I don't need to do that. Again, I have the templates also that I'll use for glass templates and things of that nature. I believe the deck of cards is in there as well. Got a whole bunch of different things going on here. And deck cards that you need. And then you have, again, you have your player sheet as well. So this is a rather large tome of information to swallow at one hand. So we've got about, I'd say, it starts here. So you've got close to 161 to 160 pages of information to play this game. So that's the core rulebook for Breacher, again by Black Site Studios. So that's the core rulebook. Now, as I said before, I can show you this real quick. So if you, again, your pre-generated characters that are in there that you can use and you don't even have to make your own, or if you want to go to the advanced rules and make your own, here you go. Some of the things you have to do is combat effectiveness, availability, cryptocurrency, spend cryptocurrency, what's your specialty, roll up your stats, what you're bringing when you leave your base, special rules that your character has, any type of injuries he may have or things that he got in the past that he has to carry on now. The primary weapon that he has, the secondary weapon he has, and if he has a knife or something like that, melee weapon. If he has grenades, what kind of grenades they are, and weapon upgrades. And you flip it over, there's nothing. So it's 1 page of rules, or 1 page for your character creation. Okay, then we're going to go to the templates real quick. Sorry about that. We're going to go to the tokens. So I got the token sheets. And right out of the bag, you can feel that they're of very good quality. And right here off the bat, punch it right out. Nice thick cardboard. Again, as I always say, you punch it back in. It's good quality. There it is. See, here's some of the tokens that you're going to need throughout the game. Again, all of these tokens are explained to you in the core rulebook. Again, the tokens, the card pack, the templates, none of these are useful unless you have the core rules. Again, this is a tier 1 pledge that I picked up from Black Site Studios. So there's your sheet of tokens that you get. And these are your templates. So 1, 2, 3 it appears. Smoke and an explosion. So I'm assuming that's a grenade explosion. Maybe this is the range of a smoke bomb. Oh, popped right out of there. Okay, here we are, and they're coming out, but they're going right back in, making them a very, very good, whoop, nice thick cardboard there. And of course you have your character sheets up top there. And the last thing I purchased with this tier 1 was the deck of cards. I'm going to open them up off camera, so in case I slip with the blade, no one needs to see that. All right, here we go. Oh, right in the back it says, in Breacher, the flow of combat is determined by the contact deck. That's this deck right here. Manage the contact deck. Deck is an important aspect of gameplay for both the Breacher and the OPFOR players. This deck consists of 52 cards. Of course, you can't use these without the core rulebook. So let's crack these open. See what we got inside here. So it looks like right off the bat we have some civilian cards. We have contact cards. Yep, and the rest are contact cards. So let's take a look at your civilian, because it says contact and civilian deck. So let's take a look at civilian deck. So all the fronts are identically, or front or back, depending on how you look at it, are the same. Let's see what it says there. It says civilian maneuver deck. Duck. The target civilian will move up to 2 inches, then drop prone. Panic. Will move 4 inches. Panic, panic. Get the cover. The target civilian moves 4 inches and must end that move touching a piece of terrain if possible. Get the cover. Again, moves to cover, 4 inches. Revolt. Target civilian moves up to 4 inches and throws an object at the closest non-civilian model. Within 6 inches, the civilian has a ranged combat skill value of 7 for this, and the object has a damage value of 1. So he throws a bottle or something. Okay, non-combatant spotted. The active player places a new civilian on the board at least 6 inches away from all non-civilian characters. What's going on? Target civilian moves 4 inches. They're curious as to what's going on. And there you go. So there are your civilian cards. And here are your contact cards. Let's see what they're all about. All right. So it looks like we have civilians. Okay, so let's take a look here. Again, to use these cards, to understand how to use these cards, everything is explained right there in the core rulebook. All right, so civilians. Each player draws 2 CMD cards. Okay. It says starting with the player that has initiative for the turn, players alternate playing one of their cards. Players may not target a civilian model previously targeted by a player this turn, unless they spend 1 momentum point. Civilians will not walk off edges or into dangerous terrain. Instead, the model will end its movement at the edge of the ledge or dangerous terrain feature. So that's civilians. It looks like we have a character here. So contact, trained. Looks like it's a trained soldier. Base size is 25 millimeter. Ranged 11, melee 10, technical 10. He moves 4 inches, has 7 wounds. Armor is 0 or 2. Militia. Base size, move, wounds, armor, ranged, melee, technical 8, melee 9. Okay, remember, I believe in this game you're rolling under, so anything between a 1 and an 8 or 1 and a 9, you're good. 10 plus, you're no good. Move and wounds. That's your militia. So you have cards for your street thugs. It says ranged 8 melee, 6 technical. Oh, sorry, ranged 8 melee, 6 and technical 5. Move 3 inches, 4 wounds. Then you're fighting against a hired gun. He's got a 32 millimeter base, so he's a little bit larger. Range 12, melee 12, technical 12. Move 5 inches. He has 10 wounds. Armor is 1 to 3. Again, that's your hired gun. Then we have a breacher. Tactical. The breacher may take 1 combat maneuver and 1 movement maneuver. Sorry. There you go. Okay, all those are the same. Then we have, it says Breacher Adrenaline. A. Breacher may take either 1 combat maneuver or 1 movement maneuver. Remove at the end of the turn. Adrenaline B. Breacher may take either 1 combat maneuver or 1 movement maneuver. All right. C. Same thing. So these are all your breacher deck, I guess. Tactical. May take 1 combat maneuver and 1 move. So he gets 2 moves per turn. And the adrenaline will give him 1 additional move. 1 additional move or combat maneuver, right? And last but not least, we have, again, some more of these trained guys. Ranged 11, melee 10, technical 10, base size is 25 millimeter. And again, the breacher is 25 millimeter as well. So there you go. So there are your contact cards for Breacher, the miniatures game. So again, everything you see here is included. And this concludes our unboxing of the Tier 1 Kickstarter pledge for Black Site Studios' Breacher 25mm tabletop miniatures game created by Matt Burns. As always, thank you so much for joining us for this unboxing video. It's truly appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, you could always give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below. You could also hit that subscribe button. This way you're kept up to date as to any time we release new content to the page. As always, thank you so much for joining us. Be safe, be well, enjoy the remainder of your day, and we'll catch you on the next unboxing video.